Welcome back to I've Got Something to Tell You with Taylor and
Colleen. I'm excited I get to say it.
I know. I was actually going to tell you should say it this time, and then I just forgot. So. And we're on episode 6, I think.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. No, this is episode 7. Never mind.
Episode 7.
Yeah.
It's either 6 or 7.
But yeah, so what have you been up to?
Nothing exciting, but I was gonna say Taylor and I were the last episode we just released was Mothman, and we were texting back and forth, and I was like, I'm an idiot. I was like, listen, just listen, give it a thought. I was like, let's go catch Mothman. And I was like, but listen, this is my plan. Giant butterfly net. Jeez.
And then we made it better by also saying, I mean, not better, like you're
no, if you did. She immediately responds with giant light bulb.
So we got the net to catch them, and we have the light bulb to draw them in.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't they think of that?
I don't know. They just went to the TNT place. No plan.
I know. Like his name, he's Mothman.
Mm-hmm.
Like he looks like a moth.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't think like.
Come on.
I know.
What are you guys doing?
So easy.
And then we were on the phone and we were talking about it, and my husband tried to act like he came up with the plan. And I was like, get out of here.
Oh yeah, because you were like, he said the giant net, and then he's like, yeah, and a giant light. And you're like, well, I wasn't done yet. So funny.
What have you been up to?
I feel like I haven't really been up to anything except doing a lot of research for my stories.
Mm-hmm.
And this one I'm actually really excited to tell you. Because this is like, I don't know if you'd call it a cryptid, but it's one of the stories I find like the most interesting. And I love looking on Reddit and finding people's personal stories about it too. And I mean, hopefully one day people just like send in their stories so we can read them. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe you could read Reddit stories. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Yeah, we'll figure it out one day. But so I guess I could segue right into my story.
I know. And we talked before this, and we were both like, mine's really long. And then she was like, mine's really long. And so we're just going to get right into it. So this isn't a 3-hour episode.
We'll dive right into it.
Yeah.
And so, Colleen, I've got something to tell you. Our story is going to be about Skinwalker Ranch.
No.
But surprisingly, Skinwalker Ranch has a lot to do with, yes, like the skinwalkers, but also a lot of UFO activity.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll be fine. And that's why I feel like I do want to do another story on the skinwalkers, because this doesn't delve like too deep into them. So yeah, you'll see.
You don't have to.
I want to.
Okay.
Okay, so let's get right into it. And I printed out my story today, so if you hear my shuffling papers, sorry, but I guess it's like ASMR too.
I was gonna say I kind of like the sound.
Sweet. Okay, so for 2 centuries in Uintah County in Utah, Sherman Ranch has been a hotspot for UFOs and paranormal activity, acquiring the name Skinwalker Ranch. Starting with the land itself, back in the 1800s, the Ute tribe allied with the U.S. against the Navajo tribe to take their land, and they participated in raiding the Navajo settlements and at times capturing them and selling them into slavery.
Oh,
I know. The legend is said that the Navajo cursed the land with the skinwalkers, who would come after anyone who did not belong on that land.
Okay.
And to this day, the Ute people acknowledge the presence of the supernatural entities in the area and actively avoid the land at which Skinwalker Ranch sits, believing that there is a dark spiritual presence lurking throughout the 480 480-acre land.
You're like, keep breaking heart.
It's like a little nickname. That's stupid.
I like it.
Anyway, it wouldn't be me if I didn't, like, do that.
We're not professional speakers here.
Yeah. So before we get into it, what exactly is a skinwalker? According to Navajo legends, skinwalkers in the Navajo language, meaning with it he goes on all fours.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Are malevolent witches with supernatural powers, allowing them to shapeshift from a human to an animal at will. They often become coyotes, wolves, foxes, or bears, though they can transition into any animal.
But they're just, wait, maybe I don't know what this is. They're just turning into animals?
Yeah. But they're pretty creepy.
Okay.
And
like the animals are creepy or the skinwalkers are creepy?
Skinwalkers are creepy.
Oh.
Because they do transition into animals, but there's just like something off about them.
They're kind of like the Men in Black kind of?
Yes.
Okay.
There's something not right. And like,
gotcha.
So I spend a lot of time on Reddit and I go down rabbit holes.
Oh, I bet.
So there's like, and there's probably tons of fake videos. And because I mean, there's things like Blender and stuff where you can like totally make something. But so there's like one where they'll shapeshift into like a dog, like your dog. And they'll be like pounding on the glass door, but their faces look like kind of crazy. And I saw one of those. And they're like, I think the story was the dog was inside already, so they knew it wasn't their dog if it was true. But it probably wasn't.
Creepy.
I know. But there's like so many stories like that on Reddit, and like not even the video and picture evidence, because like I said, that's not always credible, I guess.
Yeah.
But I feel like the stories that especially come from like Native Americans, I feel like they're legit because yeah. And I guess you don't really know if they're Native Americans for sure on Reddit, but if they say they are, I'm like, I just believe it.
And you said that they walk on all fours, that skinwalkers do, like the humans?
So that's what the name transition, or that's what the name in the Navajo language means. But people have seen them walking on their hind legs.
See, I really hate humans walking on, well, anything that's like human-esque, I guess, like walking on all fours. But I really, really hate seeing animals that are supposed to walk on all fours walk on two legs. That freaks me out.
Right.
It freaks me out so much. And like Kyle will do it with our dogs. And I'm like, stop. Like, really?
I do not do that. But yeah, so. Oh yeah. And so their skinwalkers are said to be witches who have been initiated by completing a truly terrible act, such as killing someone, usually a family member, and following the murder, the witch gets their supernatural powers. So, and that's how they become a skinwalker, I guess.
Gotcha.
So in this area, witnesses have reported UFO sightings since the 1700s. People claim to see fireballs and other different UFO shapes. In the 1970s, the Utah Highway Patrol received so many reports of UFOs that they stopped filing out complaints. As early as 1911, newspapers reported strange noises in the basin. Is it basin or basin?
I think it's basin.
Okay, basin. Homesteaders started seeing unexplained phenomena. By 1979, there were a lot of UFO sightings being documented, and people had acute medical episodes such as nausea, perception-altering experiences, vertigo, and temporary paralysis in the area.
Oh my god.
And I'll get into this too, but there's a docu-series on Hulu called The Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch. And that happens to them a lot. And they actually wear like monitors to check their levels and stuff. And you can see it changing.
That's
like
crazy.
Yeah. And yeah.
I feel like there was maybe I'll talk about it too, but wasn't there like an AMC show? The only reason I feel like I remember it is because when I used to work at marketing for the cable company.
Yeah.
Like I had to do like the one pagers for the different shows that were coming out.
Oh.
And I feel like there was a Skinwalker one. And I was like, somebody else has to make this because it's freaking me out.
There probably was. because when I Googled it, like which one I wanted to watch, a few different ones came up. And because I was looking for a specific one, and the one I was watching, that wasn't the one I saw a while ago, because they also had interviews of the people that lived in that town and their like personal UFO experiences. And I remember one of them, like the radiation from like the UFO, like as soon as he saw it, like he got like diagnosed with cancer or something. Like, it was a crazy story, but I could not find it. And I hate to talk about it on here and be like,
no.
well, I don't know where.
You're just telling the story that you knew.
Yeah. So anyway.
Sorry, I will stop interrupting you.
No. Interrupt all you want. So I'm going to get into some Utah UFO sightings before we get further into the story. Just so you know how creepy this area is.
Okay.
So, Joseph Hicks, a retired junior high school teacher who has investigated more than 400 UFO sightings in the Uintah Basin since the early 1950s, says, I'd estimate over 10% of the population of the Uintah Basin has seen something, has seen something. I think what's happening is we are being visited from beings from another world.
Whoa.
Or some other place. I think primarily it's research and exploration.
Ew, okay, we'll save this till after your story, but...
What?
Signs?
Yeah, it makes me think of signs. Oh, yeah, and you recently put yourself through it. And I forgot I was going to bring that up.
Sorry, but they talk about in signs. And, okay, yeah.
Wait, what do they talk about?
In signs, like... the kid who is one of the Culkin brothers, which I forgot. Mm-hmm. And the kid like gets really into researching aliens. And he said that, because you just said that they were coming for research. Mm-hmm. But in the movie, which is where I get all of my alien facts from, is that if they were going to come, they were coming for violence.
Ooh.
I know.
That's scary.
But I mean, that's just the movie. And like, I don't know. But yeah. So it was just... I feel like it's creepier for research. I mean, like violence, at least
because it's almost like, are they researching us?
Yeah.
Are they like
are they gonna scavenger us? Like they were basically saying, and I'm gonna screw this up, that like they would come for violence because they don't need us. Like,
yeah, they're way more developed, obviously, than us. And I definitely want to do another episode on UFOs in general, because there's so many stories. Like, is it Unsolved Mysteries, maybe, that has a lot of alien ones that I watched? I think it is, but I feel like I want to cover some of those because those are wild.
Yeah. But I just said I wasn't going to interrupt you and then just immediately
I'm glad you said that, because I was like, well, because we started researching these 2 weeks ago, and I think that's when you watched, and I was like, oh, she's in for it.
I texted her, and what did you say? I texted her, I was like, I just watched Side. I don't know what came over. And she goes, okay, Braveheart.
I know. It's just like, wow.
I was not. I was screaming. I was like, watching a lot of it from under the pillows. Like,
I love how like you weren't even forced to do this. You just put yourself through it.
And Kyle came home and he's like, what are you doing? I was like, it clicks. Why does it click?
He's like, I'm going to have to pay for this later when you're awake all night.
I did not sleep that night.
Controversial film footage of flying discs were taken by a Navy warrant officer near Tremonton. I definitely said that wrong. In 1952. A fireball that raced around Salt Lake City's skies and drew considerable attention in the Nephi area in 1962 is considered suspicious by some UFO investigators. So controversial film footage of flying discs were taken by a Navy warrant officer near Tremonton in 1952. In 1962, a fireball that raced above Salt Lake City skies and drew considerable attention in the Nephi area is also considered by some UFO investigators. Pat Roach, and it's Lehi woman. I'm assuming that's another...
Pat Roach?
Yeah, her name's Pat Roach.
Like a cockroach?
Mm-hmm. But she was working for the Geneva Steel at the time. And she attracted national attention when she went public with her account of an alien abduction she said occurred in 1973.
Whoa.
Bill Lyons.
These are cool last names.
I know.
There's a roach and then a lion.
It's like they're fake names or something.
Yeah. What would yours be?
I don't know.
Peter.
Peter Barker. Bill Lyons, a mutual UFO network investigator in Iron County, is intrigued by a February 1993 incident in which a man and a woman saw a dozen UFOs near Hurricane. So I'm assuming Hurricane is a town in Utah, including an egg-shaped craft with telephone pole-sized landing gear and a large hot dog-shaped craft. After the sightings, the couple surveyed the ground nearby and found a trail of small, three-toed footprints in the snow.
Ooh.
I know. Other markings indicated a tail might have been dragging behind whatever made the prints. And there's a quote that says, "The thing that struck me about this sighting was its depth and the copious amounts of information. There was just so much detail to it."
Yeah.
And then another occurrence, Ryan Layton, a Davis County resident, has interviewed more than 24 people of Utah who claim to have seen UFOs. He knows of an Emery County couple whose 16-year-old daughter believes that she has been abducted repeatedly by aliens with red glowing eyes.
Oh my God.
And
Mothman.
Yeah. I feel like in so many of these stories, there's red glowing eyes. So I'm like, there has to be.
So maybe he's like a hybrid of like whatever that alien is and like some.
Yeah. But also in the Bell Witch story, wasn't there also red glowing eyes?
I can't remember, but probably.
There was either red glowing eyes or there was there was definitely like the wolf thing that he shot at, which seems to be kind of a repeating thing.
But I did that. Was that had the glowing eyes?
Maybe.
I can't recall. We got to move on.
Okay. Businessman Paul Peterson agreed to speak publicly for the first time about an event he says occurred in 1964. As Peterson was leaving a neighbor's Emigration Canyon home early one morning, he noticed a huge oval-shaped craft in the sky above him. And it's quoted, "It drifted over and down and then hovered above the driveway. As it stood still, people inside came to the portholes and looked out at me." So like the windows in the UFO, I guess.
Yeah.
That kind of unnerved me because it was so dark. I knew I couldn't be seen by human eyes. And
oh my God.
They looked just like people. One sec. They were silhouetted against this green light in the background. Peterson then received a telepathic message from the beings. They asked if he'd like to come with them.
Nope.
It was one individual's voice, he said. "I didn't say anything, but answered by thinking. My thought was that I can't leave. I have a wife and 2 children who depend on me." Their response was, "That's okay." The craft just hovered above the trees and went over the mountain behind me. They're like, "All right."
Yeah. See you later.
Okay. So that's basically just telling you about like, there's a lot of UFO activity in Utah. So now we're going to go back to the Shermans.
Where's Roswell?
That's in Nevada, I think.
Oh.
Yeah. Area 51?
Yeah,
right?
I don't know.
Okay.
That's why I was wondering. Is not a famous one? And I thought yeah.
Yeah. Remember when we were driving to Tucson and didn't we pass like an alien?
The Thing?
Is that what it's called?
I don't know.
It was like a big alien place.
I don't remember.
Okay, never mind.
I remember the ostriches.
Yeah. Okay, so the Shermans. Terry and Gwen Sherman bought the ranch in 1994 after it sat idly for 7 years. After the previous owners, the Myers, passed away. Kenneth and Edith Myers were a homesteading family in the 1930s. They built a house on their own land. They lived there until 1987 and reported nothing strange or unusual. Other sightings describe wolf-like creatures with large red glowing eyes. Witnesses have seen and taken pictures of the large wolf-like tracks. The Navajo and the Ute stay off the land out of fear. So after Terry and Gwen purchased the ranch, they opened up the door and noticed that every door and window in the house was deadbolted. And they had iron stakes and heavy chains installed on both ends of the ranch. It was apparent that they were attempting to keep something out.
Yeah.
So on the first day they moved in, they spotted what looked like an abnormally large wolf right in front of them. It entered the livestock pen and grabbed a calf. Terry ran up to the pen, tried beating the wolf to let go of the calf, and that didn't work. So he ended up shooting it. And, which, as we know from the Bell Witch, don't shoot it.
Don't. Pet first. Pet first.
Pet first. It released the calf, but stood there and stared at Terry. He hit the wolf a few more times, and it trotted off. There was no blood, and they followed the tracks into the foresty area that the wolf had ran to. What was off was that the tracks suddenly stopped. And the soil there was, like, soft. So it's like, there's no way he could have... it just disappeared into thin air.
I thought what you were going to say is, like, the wolf tracks slowly started turning into, like, human tracks.
That would be wild.
That would be so
That would be so scary.
Yeah.
So it literally just disappeared.
That's crazy.
So over the course of 2 years, they would keep seeing odd animals that would just disappear into thin air. He would hear phantom machinery in the fields, only to go outside and see nothing happening. Items in the home would go missing, and then they would reappear later, seeming like poltergeist activity. Aside from the odd-looking animal sightings, Terry and Gwen immediately upon moving in started to see strange lights in the sky, following cow mutilations. And so the rest of this, I'm going to be quoting a lot from the original news article that came out.
Okay.
So it's called Frequent Flyers, and it was published by Deseret News in 1996.
Her last name was News. That's really on the note.
No, that's the name of the...
Oh, I thought her name was Deseret.
I don't know who the actual author was, but that was
I was like, that's really on the point.
I love that. So they discovered 3 circles of flattened grass, each about 8 feet across in a triangular pattern about 30 feet from each other. In a nearby pasture, other strange soil impressions have been found. Circles about 3 feet wide and a foot or 2 deep with the dirt in the center, perfectly flattened. Crop circles. In April of 1995, Terry stepped out of the house to check on a cow that was calving in the field, south of the house when he noticed lights in the field. He assumed they belonged to recreation vehicles or maybe the kids from a neighboring farm riding 4-wheelers. It didn't make a lot of sense, though, because the ranch is isolated 3 miles from the main road, and access is cut off by a creek and a huge rock ridge. And a quote from Terry, "It went clear down here and just above where this cow's mutilated," pointing to where the first UFO was seen. It went over some trees there that are probably 40 to 50 feet tall. Oh. And that's the first time we realized it wasn't an RV.
Oh.
Gwen didn't see the object that time, but had a sighting of her own later. And quoting Gwen, "It looked like headlights, but they were a little ways away from the craft, and there was a red glowing thing, about an 18-inch circle," she said. "It just lit the whole side of the mountain up like broad daylight." I know. And so in The Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch, they actually catch on their infrared camera they call it Skinwalker Ridge. Like, that's what the ridge is, where she's seeing the lights. But they catch, like, the light happening. But, like, with, like, your eyes, you can't see it, but you can see it on the camera. And there will be, like, beams of light coming down. Like, it's crazy.
That's nuts.
I know. And there's, like...
What happens if you stand in the beams of light? Do you get?
I don't know.
Do you go up?
And that's the I'm gonna get into it later, but like there's really high like radiation levels in the air, but there's no like cell phone towers or anything. They don't have Wi-Fi. They don't, and their phones don't even work out there. So it's like they don't know where it's coming from. But yeah,
that's nuts.
I'm probably gonna repeat that information later too.
That's okay.
I was just like I had to jump in.
You were excited.
I was excited. She said, wait. Oh, never mind. I already said that. One of the flying lights followed Gwen's car on her way home from work one night, and while out in one of the fields with the family dogs, Terry heard male voices speaking an unfamiliar language. The voices seemed to be about 25 feet above him, but Terry couldn't see a thing. The dogs were frantic. They barked and growled before running off to the ranch house. The Shermans have linked the sightings with the death or disappearance of 7 of their cows. 4 have disappeared without a trace, and 3 others have been found dead and partially mutilated. He says, "We've seen the UFOs enough and we know pretty much what the craft looked like. I think it's definitely associated with the cattle mutilations. When we see the crafts and then the cattle, we have problems."
Mm-hmm. We have problems.
We got problems coming. In the months to follow, the Shermans saw tons of lights and flying objects, including more than a dozen on one evening. Sightings generally occur during a new moon and often when the sky is overcast or stormy. Their most recent encounter took place in May during a thunderstorm. Terry and his son believe they may have communicated with one of the craft. As they traveled west on the ranch road one evening, they saw a lighted object duck behind the rock ridge as if to avoid them. Moments later, they managed to sneak up to the object. Before it could hide again, they stood and waved their arms at it.
Why?
I know. The light
slowly
flashed.
Back away.
Yeah.
Like,
don't. This thing's mutilating your cows.
Don't draw attention to yourself. What are you doing?
The light flashed on and off 3 times as if signaling to them, then disappeared. What if it just was like, fuck you?
Yeah, it's like Morse code.
Soon after sightings began, the Sherman found one of their cows dead in a field. It had a hole in the center of its left eyeball,
Ew.
but was otherwise untouched with no trace of blood. There was no evidence of predators, footprints, or tire tracks, and a strange chemical-like odor was present. They also were totally drained of their blood.
That's so creepy. So it's like it stuck a straw in its eyeball and just...
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Like, what if it was like cutting holes out of it and drinking the blood?
That's what I'm saying.
I did not think about that. And also, like, the mutilations, they say, were like almost like they were so clean, it was like surgical.
That's crazy.
And like, so that's not an animal.
No.
And not even a person.
No.
Like, unless you were like a surgeon.
Yeah.
But to not leave any footprints or blood marks.
Yeah.
And then the strange chemical like smell.
Yeah.
So later, another dead cow was found with a similar hole in its left eye and a 6-inch hole only about an inch deep carved out of its rectum. Which is something common.
What?
The left eye and like the rectum. And then they like, the insides are like somehow removed. It's really gross.
What?
I know. Like, I don't even know how you would do that.
I don't know how you do that either. How do you get them out? Where?
Yeah. And this was like multiple mutilations.
Yeah.
And this wasn't even just here. It was like a common theme of like cow mutilations in other states too.
Oh, really?
Like the rectum or whatever. Poor cows.
I know.
So all with laser-like precision and no visible sign of blood. And the same chemical smell was noticeable on that cow too. Then cows began disappearing altogether. And here's another quote from Terry. "We about rode the saddle horses to death looking for cattle until we realized they were vanishing." One appeared to be lifted from the snow where it stood. The Shermans saw the cow's hoof prints led into the field, but the prints stopped at the edge of the field near some trees. The area where the cow apparently took its last steps was surrounded by a circle of broken twigs and branches. And above, he noticed that the tops of the trees had been cut off. So there was like a crop circle around where it disappeared, and then like the trees were like severed off.
Yeah.
Like something was hovering above it.
That's nuts.
I know. So Terry said, if it's snow, it's hard for a 1,200 or 1,400 pound animal to just walk off without leaving tracks, or to stop and walk backwards completely and never miss their tracks. It was just gone, and it was very bizarre. The last of the 3 dead cows was found in January in a clump of trees at the edge of the same field. The cow, which had been alive by the Sherman's son just 5 minutes earlier, had a 6-inch wide, 18-inch deep hole cored out of its rectum once again and extending into the body's cavity. There was no blood on the cow or the snow, and the same chemical odor was apparent. There was a circle of twigs around the fallen cow, and the tops of the trees were severed again.
And like, what's going on when this, like, is nobody believing them?
There were some people that believed him. I think I think his name was...
It was the guy that had like all of the investigations at the beginning, right?
Joseph Hicks, yeah. Because they didn't report all of it to the police. This is just like the news article. I don't know if they just didn't believe them. I can't remember. But I feel like they told the UFO researcher like everything.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm just like, why is nobody doing anything about it?
I know. So Leland Meckham, who lives in nearby... Wait, hang on a second. Norman, cut this part out. Okay, sorry. I didn't know if my papers got mixed up.
No, you're okay.
Okay. So Leland Meckham, who lives in nearby Neola, knows the Shermans are not insane. He had 2 prolonged observations of UFOs, one in the mid-1960s and another a decade later. The second craft he saw was gigantic and had rays of colored light shooting from its underbelly. After it scanned the landscape, it elevated, streaked across the sky, and was gone in an instant, he said. There's no way it was swamp gas or balloons like everybody tries to pass it off. I was probably as skeptical as any man alive, but when I saw these, in my opinion, they had to be operated by somebody. It couldn't be any other way. And I don't think there's anything we've got that could have moved that quickly.
Jeez.
Yeah. So, after 2 years of ongoing paranormal phenomena, Terry and Gwen decided to sell the ranch to Robert Bigelow in 1996. And what?
What? Just don't sell it. Just leave it alone.
I know. They were like, screw this.
Yeah, I mean, good for them for moving and like hopefully making a profit, but it's kind of a dick thing to do too after all that stuff happened.
Yeah. They were probably over it.
Yeah.
Because it was also like haunted too.
That's what
so it's like
what?
like the poltergeist activity.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you got
Robert.
the Skinwalker stuff going on. And
Yeah.
it's just like, and your cows are
like, is that not
mutilated.
listed on the like house listing? Like,
Well, okay, so Robert
comes with poltergeist and
he's
cow
actually
mutilation.
he works for the government, so they're doing
So
scientific
he's
studies.
Okay. Well, then I'm sorry.
I mean, I get it though. So he conducted a scientific study funded by the government. However, any information that they documented is confidential, so we don't know any of it. And then in 2016, Brandon Fugel, a real estate developer, purchased the land and created his own team to conduct scientific studies on the ranch. And this study is documented on TV called The Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch, the one I kept mentioning.
Yeah.
And I summed up some key points, but I think it's like 5 seasons long at this point.
Oh.
And so I watched like most of the first season and just got a few things from here.
Cool.
So their entire ranch is completely under surveillance from cameras, thermographic imaging cameras, night vision. They even have equipment to record vibrations in the ground and record sounds that are below the frequency range of like human hearing. They have an avionic receiver, which allows them to discern the difference between aircraft and a UFO. So they basically have like everything that would potentially like debunk their evidence.
Yeah.
Like they have everything. It's pretty wild. They use electric field measurement devices called tri-field meters, and they measure 3 different fields. During their studies, they find out that the tri-field was measuring a dangerously high level of electromagnetic radiation, which could be harmful to humans. But the odd part is that the high levels were in the air with no indication of where it would be coming from. And this area is isolated, like I was saying earlier, with no cell phone towers or anything. So that's why it was really strange.
Yeah. Because that would be like the first thing you'd go check, right? Is like, is there something that's petting this off?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing, so I think part of the legend is you're not supposed to dig on the land, and that's when stuff starts happening. And so, because they bring in, I thought I wrote his name down, but I mean, if you watch the show, they bring in another scientist, and I guess he's like pretty big, but his name's Travis something.
I thought you were going to say they brought in like construction equipment just to like really agitate the things to try and get them to come up.
Because they're in this like meeting with all of the people who are like there. And so they bring him in for his expertise. And he's like, well, I mean, if we're trying to find out where this is coming from, like we should dig.
Yeah.
If things happen. And they're like all really against it because one of them, I guess, he was digging and then literally the next day he had to go to the emergency room because his brain like started swelling. And they said his scalp started detaching from, you know, it was just like, and who knows if it was a coincidence. Still really scary. And I think that's what they were trying to get at is like, but that's why we're here doing this research, because we want to see if like, is this something paranormal or is this something like, did radiation come from somewhere else?
Yeah.
Like that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously really fun to believe the paranormal part, but that's why they were doing the study.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I didn't get to the part where they finally do get clearance to dig, but excuse me. Cut that out. I just burped.
Keep it in.
So they go to Skinwalker Ridge, which is like that big ridge that kind of
with the lights.
Yeah. And so they find like this almost like kind of like a cave that goes down and there's cool air coming up from it. And when they go down, they're the little meters that they're wearing on their that checks their levels and stuff. Well, it starts kind of acting crazy and they start getting like nauseous and lightheaded and stuff. And so that's why he's like, I want to see like, I want to dig and see if there is like the radiation's coming from underground. That's what I was
thinking. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But
that still doesn't explain the cows.
Yeah, it doesn't explain the cows. And I feel like there's so, aside from the radiation, there's so many other weird things that happen. So yeah, and then another thing, which I said earlier, the video captures beams coming down from the sky on Skinwalker Ridge, as well as the mountain illuminating, which, like I said, could only be seen on the infrared camera, not with the naked eye. And so there are also 3 homesteads on the property, and the second one, which is closest to the Skinwalker Ridge, has the most paranormal activity. So they'll hear like disembodied voices and they get like headaches and vertigo in that one.
Why do people live?
So they have right now, and this next one, they have caretakers on the property and they live in like the ranch, which was where the Shermans lived.
Yeah.
And so they started reporting hearing sounds at night, and it was vibrations and like knocking sounds coming from the basement.
Oh. Which
was, if they're in their kitchen, like they would hear it from the kitchen, and the basement was under there. So Brandon Fugel's team investigates the basement, and they end up finding a hidden room within the basement.
No, don't go in there.
It's so weird. Like, so it's like really thick concrete, and they like bust like a hole through it, and they grab a camera so they can look in. And it's like this super clean, like square, like cement room.
Mm-hmm.
And on the ground, they see like ashes, like somebody burned a fire in there. Oh, and then they end up like busting the wall down and grabbing a sample of what's in there, and it ends up being fragmented bones. Oh, and there's like hair on it.
No,
but there's zero ventilation in this room, so it's like, what was going on in there?
Well, it sounds like it was maybe somebody hiding evidence of some sort. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because like if there wasn't, because immediately I thought what was going to be is that somebody's been living in their basement, like without them knowing, because there's so many stories of like people living in like people's walls or like their and anyways, I have a side story at the end to tell you. Don't let me forget. But
okay, I'm almost done too.
Yeah, no, but that's what I thought it was gonna be, him like hiding or somebody hiding evidence.
But the weird thing is like, so like back to like the Myers, how they like, because they built that house. Yeah. So obviously they're the ones who put the room there, and they didn't report anything weird. They're the ones that had the deadbolts and stuff. And it's just like, what was going on there? Like, yeah. So I don't know. I didn't finish the rest of. I'm definitely going to finish it, and I'll probably just update you on it.
Yeah. Well, update everybody.
Yeah. No, I'll definitely update on here, because that's what I'll be up to.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I really like that story. That's like one of my favorite ones.
It didn't, like, it's definitely creepy and like, but I don't feel like it was, I thought skinwalkers were something different. So
what did you think they were?
I don't know. Like, I don't know what I thought, to be honest. Like, I mean, I guess I thought they were, because the name always freaked me out, so I avoid, like, I know, like, the show that you were talking about, and I know they do them on a couple, like, podcasts as well, and I'm always like, nope, skipping that episode, like,
yeah.
So,
well, I also feel like this one doesn't get too much into like the legend. It's like, because the land was like cursed with skinwalkers, and then so it like kind of tied into it a little bit, but also like the poltergeist activity, like I feel like that happens a lot with the skinwalkers too, so it's like that could be that. But then there's also the UFOs. Like they just have a lot going on there.
I was gonna say, it seems like a very active area for like just paranormal and paranormal adjacent things. Yeah, that's crazy. That was really good.
Thanks. I know, I didn't know if it was a little all over the place.
No, it wasn't at all.
Yay.
I was gonna tell you, because when you said the room downstairs, there's this story, and when they stuck the camera in to go see what was in there, I was like, don't do it, because there's this one story about this guy. So there's this family, and they're living, maybe it's not a family, I forget all of the details, but anyway, so they keep hearing noises in their attic, and they're like, oh, it's probably just like an animal or like pigeons or something like got up there. And so they finally take like a selfie stick and their phone, and they like stick it up into the attic and snap a picture.
I got goosebumps.
And there's a dude in like, and he looks freaky. Ew. And he's like in the corner, and he looks like Gollum from like Lord of the Rings. Like, he's so freaky, and he's been living in their attic.
That would haunt me for life.
I saw I've seen the picture, and it is Don't ever look it up. If you ever want to sleep, we don't have an attic.
I got
we don't
goosebumps.
have.
I keep getting like.
I know.
In waves.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
It's so freaky. But immediately when you said that room, I was like, don't stick to cameras in there. Just don't ask questions. Just don't do it.
But it was just so odd though.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. If you could just like know what happened at that time. Like go back in time and just see. Crazy.
All right. Well, I've got something to tell you. So this one's going to be a long one, but today we're diving into a story that's really horrifying. It's a story that sparked massive conversations and changed the way that many people think about marine parks, orcas, and animals in captivity. And I brought my orca blanket because it matched.
On brand.
Yeah. I am covering the tragic deaths of trainers at Seaworld and the whale at the center of it all, Tilikum. So before we start, I want to give you a heads up. This episode, achy and episode.
Achies. I can't.
This one comes with a really heavy trigger warning. I do want to warn people up front that I am going to go into the details of the attacks. So I think it's important to understand what happens in these situations, how captivity impacts the psyche of the animals and really pushes them to act out in violent ways that are not necessarily in their nature or what we see from them in nature. So it also creates dangerous conditions for both people and the orcas. But if that feels like too much for you today, I totally get it. Like, take care of yourself first, and I would just say tune out. You could tune out maybe halfway through because
or
the
like,
start is the
turn
start
the
is
volume
good.
down, but keep it playing for
Yeah.
you to listen.
Yeah, so you gotta listen. I'm just saying, like, I don't want people to be like shocked if like as we go farther down. But
Yeah,
the beginning is happy, kind of.
it will be detailed.
Yes. It will be graphic. So like I said, this story isn't just about like the deaths of the people or the trainers. And there is going to be a couple of them. It's about Tilikum's story, the ethics of keeping orcas in captivity, and the devastating toll this practice takes on, again, the animals and the people who work with them. Because it is emotional for both. Like most, if not all of the trainers who work with orcas, they do it because they love the whales. And like I watched a lot of documentaries about this, which I will make sure to put my resources in the show notes so you guys can go check out the different docs that I watched that are really, really good. But the trainers that they interview, they will like say that they'll ask like, why did you stay if you knew that this was dangerous for the animal? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're like, I loved that whale. Like if I leave, what is going to happen to it? And so there really is at least from the human's perspective, obviously it seems like the whales love their trainers, but I also think that there's probably a thing about like, why is this person I love hurting me?
Yeah.
You know?
Like it kind of like becomes the norm.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean it's right.
But also I really love orcas. So
I've always loved them.
I know. Like I have an orca tattoo. I've got my orca blanket.
Don't you also pay for an orca or something?
Yeah.
Explain that because I know I didn't say that.
Yes, I pay for an orca. No, my husband, our first Christmas together, he adopted a orca in my like years ago. He adopted an orca in my name, and like every year we readopt her.
Oh,
yeah. Surprise, that's her name.
And by adoption, you mean like, are they in like a sanctuary type?
No.
Or?
No, they are out in the wild. It's basically a conservation company. So you're basically donating to making sure that they're like taking care of the whales in the wild. So yeah, no, do not. No.
I was just confused.
No, it's okay.
Well, the sanctuaries are okay because it's like the animals that I don't think can be in the wild or something, like the elephant sanctuaries.
I think there's sometimes a gray area between them because I think their intentions are good, but
they're still entrapped or
they're
whatever.
still, I guess I'm just saying there's a gray area. This is just what I believe is I think that their intentions are good, but I think they hold them there probably longer than they need to because like they should be rehabbing the animals in order to get them back out in a safe but wild environment.
Oh, okay.
And I think they end up making more money by keeping the animals. So I don't know.
It's still like a tourist type attraction.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, so I don't know. I'm just saying, like, I think it's a gray area. That's just what I think.
Yeah.
I don't have any facts to back that up.
Yeah. From what you said, I mean, I agree. And I didn't really know the difference between that.
But I'm going to make a promise right now, right here, to you, Taylor, to your face, to the audience. This won't turn into a orca fact session. Like, I'm not just going to talk about orca. I will get into the true crime. I'm going to stay on track. But for context, I am going to go into some details about orcas.
Okay.
I try to keep it short. But I think it's important for you to know why it's messes with their psyche so much.
Agreed.
Okay. So, first off, orcas are not actually whales. They are the largest member of the dolphin family. Adult males can grow up to 32 feet long and weigh as much as 12,000 pounds. Tilikum, the whale that I'm going to focus on in this story, was about that size. He was huge. And that's a like big component of he was the largest whale in captivity.
Dang.
Yeah.
I also didn't know that they were like dolphins or in the same family.
Yeah.
Is that what you said? That's
crazy. Yep. They're basically they're a dolphin.
Oh, I love dolphins.
I know. Do you like orcas now too?
I do. I mean, I don't want to swim with them, but or I don't even want to be in a boat.
Well, you shouldn't in captivity. In the wild.
Not in the wild or in captivity.
But more impressive is they are very intelligent creatures, and they're also extremely social. So they're ridiculously smart. Their brains are massive. They have the largest brain to like body size ratio, only second to a sperm whale. The sperm whale, I believe, has like the largest brain in nature.
A sperm whale has the largest brain?
Has the largest brain, and orcas, I believe, are second.
Okay, interesting.
Yep. And they also have a part of the brain that's associated with emotions that's even more developed than a human's. Aww. So they feel things so deeply. Like they can feel complex emotions like grief, joy, and they have
and again, that makes me so sad when they get separated from their families.
Oh, it's gonna get real bad. Yeah, it's not gonna stay. I mean, like I said, we were gonna start off happy. It's not gonna stay happy. For So because they have those deep emotions, the bonds between orcas, they are everything to them. They live in tight-knit groups called pods, which are essentially like their families. Pods are also matriarchal. So women run the world.
Nice.
They're led by the mothers or grandmothers, and they can span multiple generations. So like the mother, if the grandmother does pass away, the mother will take her spot as the patriarch or matriarch, and so on and so forth. So it's really cool.
That is cool.
Some orcas also stay with their moms for their entire lives.
Aww.
I know. That's why it gets really sad. They have unique dialects, so pods communicate with specific sounds that only their group uses. Like if you see a pod from Alaska and another pod from Alaska, they could probably figure out how to communicate to each other because they're from the same region. But it would be like, I speak English, but like if I'm talking to somebody from like England and they start using slang from England, like
you don't understand.
I wouldn't understand, you know? In the wild, orcas also constantly are on the move. They swim up to 100 miles a day and can dive hundreds of feet deep. And they hunt cooperatively. So they hunt as a pack almost. They are apex predators, so nothing in the ocean messes with them. But despite being an apex predator and having the name killer whales, orcas are not dangerous to humans in the wild. There has never been a recorded case of an orca attacking a human in the open ocean. Now, I know they've been attacking boats recently, but that does not mean they are. And the boats started it, in my opinion.
They
So,
attack boats?
yeah.
I don't think I've seen that.
Oh, it's wild. You have,
Can I say something really quick?
of course.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Have you seen the people like they'll go out on like a paddleboard and they
Mhm.
have like the what are they called? Like the sound healing bowls, the
Mhm.
crystal bowls, and they'll play them in the I don't think they're orcas, but they're like other types of whales. They come up to listen.
That's
Like the
beautiful.
frequencies, I think they can hear them from. It's
Yeah,
really cool.
that's so cool. I'll have to look that up. Um, so everything that I just described, all of the beautiful things about orcas,
Mhm.
none of that is possible in captivity.
Yeah.
So in captivity, instead of living with their pods, captive orcas are separated from their families and forced into artificial groups. So the other orcas that are in captivity, basically. And reminder of how important their pod is to them. Um, these artificial groups often consist of orcas from different regions who don't even speak the same language. This leads to
Oh.
frustration, stress, and then aggression. There have been cases of orca on orca violence in captivity, and that's something that's incredibly rare in the wild. Like, there's some reports, but not to this level.
Yeah.
It happens every single day in captivity. Is there's
Yeah.
something going on. Some of the orca on orca attacks have on each other has even led to the death of some of these whales. So they've killed each other in the wild, or in
In
captivity.
captivity.
Yeah. Like there's a really horrifying video of one of the whales is trying to slam another whale,
Mm-hmm.
and that whale moves, and so the whale hits the wall of the pool instead,
Mm-hmm.
and she basically has a hemorrhage and bleeds out and dies. Like,
Oh,
it is so sad.
that's so sad.
Instead of swimming 100 miles a day, captive orcas are confined to tanks that are barely bigger than their bodies. They have no space to move. They're used to swimming 100 miles, and they get absolutely basically no activity besides the shows that they're a part of.
Mm-hmm.
And they have no control over their environment. So a lot of them get like skin conditions because they're used to like being able to escape the environment. And like they're not like, I think about the dolphins here in Arizona, and like they
Oh
die
my
all the
God.
time because of the
Yes.
heat and stuff.
It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Um, Wait, so there was what was that documentary that came out about this, like the Seaworld stuff?
Blackfish. Yeah, I'll talk
Yeah,
about that later.
but it's just like it's crazy to me that it's still open though. Like after all this information, it's just like why?
Yeah, and I didn't want to talk too much about like, I guess it is like, I will say they were forced to be a little bit, but it's still terrible. But
Yeah.
they were forced to be a little bit better. Like PETA now sits on the board, so they like any decisions that SeaWorld makes, like they have like a board of more ethical
Mhm.
structure around. It's still terrible though.
Yeah.
And like they changed things up there, so like now it's
It's like
more
just
of
shut
like,
it down.
yeah, I mean, but they also don't know that they can like, I'll go into it because
Okay, sorry.
no, it's a good question. Like a lot of these orcas have been bred in captivity. They can't go back into the wild. They don't know how to be a whale.
Yeah, and I feel like so I get that, but it's also like stop making them perform and do shows
Yeah.
also. Like put them in some kind of sanctuary. But
Yeah.
anyway, I'll let you get back to your
Um,
story.
there's a good documentary. I forget the name of it, but it's about Keiko, who comes up. So I'll tell you, I'm not gonna break that surprise.
Okay.
Um, okay, um, so they also show signs of psychological trauma in captivity. So they'll swim in just like endless circles for hours. They'll
Aw,
start banging their heads against tank walls, and they even start self-harming. So
so sad.
yeah, there was one that like starved itself, like refused to eat, or would like when it was forced to eat, it would regurgitate its food. Like it was trying to end its,
Mm.
yeah. But I'm going to now go into specifically Tillicum's story. I will say that this is, if animal capturing or anything like that is a trigger for you, this is where you probably either want to turn it down or skip ahead. So Tillicum is born in 1981 off the coast of Iceland. He's born wild and free, swimming with his family pod. But in 1983, Tillicum was captured by a whaling boat, and the way that they caught these whales too is horrifying. They purposely would put nets out to separate. They wanted the babies because they were easier to transport. Mm-hmm. So they would put nets out to separate the big whales from the baby whales. And like they talk about, like, there's some interviews with some of the guys that would do this, and they are just crying. They're like, we can't believe we actually did this to, like, he's like, the sounds that these animals made,
especially with the emotional intelligence that they have. Like, it's literally like taking a human baby from the mother.
It is.
Yeah.
So it's 1983. Tillicum is captured, is ripped away from his mother in the pod. It's reported that his pod chased the boat for hours, like crying for him, and that his mother chased the longest until she couldn't swim anymore.
Ugh, yeah, it's heartbreaking.
It is. Tillicum is sold to Sealand of the Pacific, which is a marine park in Canada. It's a nightmare. At Sealand, Tillicum was kept in a tiny tank. Like, it's a pool. Like, it is just a pool. Mm-hmm. Like, you can look at pictures of this place. It's tiny. And there are 2 female orcas who bullied him. Remember, they are a matriarchal grouping. So the females are the dominant ones, and the males are usually kind of actually kept more like on the outskirts of the pod, where the females and the babies are like on the inside. Yeah. So the 2 females attacked him constantly. They hated him. And he was big, so like he also couldn't really get away from them because they were smaller. They were like more agile, and he also didn't have any space to like get away from them. They would slam him. They would rake him with their teeth. They'd steal his food. It was awful. He spent most of his time just floating motionless with no activity or space to swim. At night, At night, he was confined to a dark, cramped metal shed for over 14 hours.
Oh my God.
And it is pitch black in this shed.
So that would drive anybody crazy.
Yeah. Trainers who worked with him who knew the conditions said closing the door on him at night, knowing what he was living in, it was a stab in the heart. They would cry every time putting him into that shed every night. So like I said, I'm going to cover multiple trainer people deaths at sea, like at different marine parks. Mm-hmm. So it's whether it's at SeaWorld or like SeaWorld adjacent, primarily SeaWorld's going to be the common theme. Mm-hmm. There are 4 stories that I'm going to cover. 3 of them are I put the fins of Tillicum.
The fin?
Instead of like at the hands.
Oh. I love it.
And I'm not trying to be insensitive. It's like it's gonna get really rough, so I gotta sprinkle in something kind of like semi lighthearted. Okay, so we're getting into it now, just so you can prepare yourself. The first human death associated with Tillicum happened while he was at Sealand. It's 1991. And a 20-year-old part-time trainer named Kelty Byrne. And she's kind of like a trainer intern. Like, she's not really like a trainer, but she wants to be one.
Yeah, like an apprentice or whatever.
Yeah.
Or intern.
Mm-hmm. So she fell into the tank after one of the whale performances. Like, it's her job to clean the tank afterwards. And so all the whales are still in the tank. Kelty was a competitive swimmer, but she didn't stand a chance. Tillicum immediately grabbed her and pulled her into the middle of the pool. This action got the attention of the 2 female orcas, again, they don't get any activity. So like they think this is a game. This is a toy that they can play with. They quickly surround Kelty. They grabbed her, dragged her underwater, and refused to let her go. Witnesses, because it's right after the show, there are still guests watching the whales do this. They described this attack as horrifying. Every time Kelty tried to surface, the orcas would pull her back down. But they weren't working together to kill her. It seemed like they were more like playing with her. Like I said, treating her as if she was a toy. Onlookers said when she would surface, she would scream for help. She said, "Help me, I don't want to die." But the pool was too deep and the orcas were too powerful. This attack took over 15 minutes. Kelty was tossed around, dragged underwater, and repeatedly pulled out of reach of the trainers who were desperately trying to save her. By the time...
I wonder how you would even save her. It's like probably really... because if more people jump in... I don't know if
they
that's what
can't jump
did.
in. Yeah.
Oh, they can't?
I don't think they would. I mean, more bodies in there is only going to excite the whales even more, I would think. And like, I think they mainly, when this happens, they try and throw a net out to separate the whale from the person, or like they'll start like making noises to try and like get the whale to pay attention to them so that the person can get away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of like
what else?
Yeah.
But 15 minutes.
Yeah, imagine 15 minutes you're basically like being just played with by 3 giant orcas.
Yeah.
It must have been horrifying. So by the time they finally do retrieve her body, it was too late. However, her official cause of death was deemed a drowning.
Oh, so not from the...
No. Oh, no, it's totally from the whales, but they were attacked. Like, this was, it's essentially a murder. Like, they murdered this person. So basically
they, like, lied.
Yeah, they're also trying to protect the whales because the whales are worth a ton of money for them. That, like, if they were to say that the whales did something wrong, somebody might
shut it down.
Yeah.
That, I feel like her, like, the family of that woman that was killed had to have been like...
They blame the victims on they blame every victim on every single one of these attacks.
Yeah. So I feel like, yeah.
They need the whales working. They got to get those butts in the seats. So in my opinion, I don't think that these animals were acting like truly to be aggressive. I think they were stressed, obviously severely traumatized. Yeah. Like if you were kept for 14 hours in a dark room every single night with being bullied and being attacked, you'd probably go crazy too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about like at war when like people get captured. It's like in captivity and like and it's like if they have like the same like kind of like emotional intelligence as like a human, like yeah, they're probably not in the greatest mental space.
No, 100%. Okay, so after Kelty's death, Sealand of the Pacific does shut down. They were not equipped to handle these animals. They could probably maybe have a penguin, maybe. But even that, no. You don't
penguin.
Okay, so but Tilikum's suffering doesn't end there. He is sold to Seaworld. And he's sold to Seaworld because they need a breeder. And Tilikum was a large, like, again, he's huge. And he's actually a beautiful whale. Like, if you, like, they're all beautiful, but he's a really good looking guy. So, like, and he's big. He's a big attraction. Like, yeah, they want him. But crazy fact, is SeaWorld was choosing between two male whales, and it was Tilikum and Keiko, who I mentioned earlier.
Keiko.
But Keiko, you might know better as Willy.
Willy?
Free Willy.
Oh, wait, isn't Free Willy a dolphin?
No, Free Willy's a whale.
Really?
Yes. Do we need to go watch Free Willy?
I can't remember. I thought it was a dolphin.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I guess technically you said they're from the same family.
Yeah. Well, no, Keiko wasn't. So Tilikum was at Sealand and Keiko was living in Mexico City. And I'm not going to go into too much, but he also had really disgusting conditions. They kept him in a tank that had chlorine in it. So he started developing these like it was meant, I guess, for dolphins, which I don't know why dolphins would be able to live in chlorine, but
yeah.
He developed these like really bad skin lesions.
Aww.
And when they casted him in Free Willy, when
he got the part.
Yeah, well, and he also was they talk a lot about like how Keiko was like really kind. Like at one there's a story about a kid that fell into the tank and Keiko like went over and like saved the kid because he was gonna drown.
Oh.
Yeah. So if he hadn't gotten cast in Free Willy, he probably would have died from the skin lesions and that. Okay, anyways, we're talking about Tilikum. So he's sold to SeaWorld. His life does not improve. He was isolated even more and used primarily just for breeding and like the big splashes. Trainers were also warned to be cautious around him, but they were not told about Kelty's death. What?
Yeah, that's insane.
Okay, so this is now the second death. In 1999, Tilikum is involved in another murder. Now at SeaWorld, a 27-year-old man named Daniel Dukes was found dead in Tilikum's tank. Daniel had reportedly snuck into SeaWorld after hours, evading security somehow, which I'm like, what? And he got into a tank, and that tank was Tilikum's.
Why did he got in the tank after hours?
Yeah. And so they said they said that he either wanted to swim with the whale or that he maybe was just trespassing and maybe fell in. But either way, he picked or fell in the wrong tank.
Okay.
Like the trainers were not even allowed to get in the water. The trainers were not even allowed to get into the water with Tilly.
Very weird.
Yeah. So the next morning, staff discovered Daniel's lifeless body. It's draped over Tilikum's back as if the whale had been carrying him around.
What?
Yeah. And like they have seen orcas in the wild. They'll like kill a fish and then kind of like swim around with the fish on their nose. So it seemed like he was kind of doing that. His body showed extensive injuries. Daniel's body showed extensive injuries. And the autopsy revealed that Daniel had been bitten, scratched, and mutilated. He had numerous lacerations and contusions. Tilikum bit his penis off.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
It feels like
they like noted that.
Yeah. His cause of death was ultimately ruled as drowning.
Oh my god.
Yeah. The injury strongly suggested, though, that Tilikum had interacted with his body multiple times after his death, though. So he mutilated this man.
So, like, again, kind of like treating him like a toy, maybe?
Yeah.
Because they're not eating them. They're like just roughing around. Or, like a dog with like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And because I've heard this, and I don't know if it's true, but like, I've heard that like when animals attack, they usually don't eat the people because we don't taste good.
Oh.
And I thought that was interesting.
They're like, yuck.
Yeah, like that. Like normally sharks will come and like take a bite out of somebody, but then like they're like that's just to see what it is.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, because I think if they really knew it was a human, they wouldn't attack, right? Or no?
I don't know about the orcas in captivity because I think they're smart enough to know we're humans. Because think about it, like they don't attack humans in the wild.
Or I mean, like sharks, like wild
Oh,
sharks. Like, don't they usually think
I think
it's
they
like a,
just see movement
and they go and
and they
grab
just
it?
go and grab it. Like they think
Okay.
a lot of what people say is that they think we're like a seal
Uh-huh.
or something. Yeah. And then so they go and they taste it and then they're like, "Oh, well, that's not what I thought it was." But
Yeah.
still, one bite from
Ooh,
shark. Yeah.
those teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So SeaWorld claimed that there were no witnesses or security footage of what happened to Daniel. But this is a $10 million animal, and you're telling me there's no camera on that tank? Like,
There has to be.
and there has to be. Like, they show footage in one of the documentaries of just like different security cameras around SeaWorld. And
Yeah.
it's like, come on.
Yeah. Also, that's so messed up.
And I get like, yeah, they're covering something up.
Mm-hmm.
So this left many questions unanswered. Did Tilikum attack Daniel while he was alive, or did he lash out after Daniel had already drowned? Either way, super tragic for Daniel and also really probably scary.
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay. Um, so Tilikum obviously isn't the only whale who's caught in captivity or in the like cycle of captivity. And SeaWorld is not the only facility where tragedy happened.
Mm-hmm.
There have been, like I said, 4 recorded deaths, um, three of which three of which are from Telecom, but to understand kind of just like how widespread this happens, I'm gonna tell the story now. This is the 3rd death of in this story of Alexis Martinez. Um, Alexis Martinez was a 29-year-old trainer who worked at Loro Parque, which is a marine include marine park, whatever you want
Mm-hmm.
to call it, um, in Spain. He was very well loved by his colleagues and known for his dedication to the animals he worked with. Um, Loro Parque actually housed orcas that were owned by SeaWorld.
Oh.
Yeah. And one of those orcas was Keto, who's responsible for Alexis's death.
Mm-hmm.
He is a male orca born in captivity. He was part of SeaWorld's breeding program. So he could have actually been, because Tillicum's like the main breeder, he could have actually been one of Tillicum's sons.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, was Keto the Free Willy one?
No, that's Keiko.
Oh, okay. I was
Yeah,
like,
I
wait.
tried not to put like a ton of the whales' names in here just because it's like there's a lot of like Orky too and
Oh,
like
like
think
similar.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I thought it got kind of confusing.
Mm-hmm.
But I did put like these ones, I guess,
Yeah.
because yeah.
Makes sense.
And obviously Taylor comes because he's at the
He's
center.
the main story.
Yeah, he's the star. So Keto is a male orca. He's born in captivity, and he was loaned to Loro Parque along with several other killer whales from SeaWorld. This is also crazy because it's like SeaWorld is like the like name brand for marine parks.
Mm-hmm.
So like having a whale from SeaWorld, you'd feel safer, like thinking like, oh, I like they've been trained by SeaWorld. Like this is, you
Yeah.
know,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not the case. Also, they're using Tilikum to breed, and Tilikum is a aggressive whale. So I don't know if aggression can be passed down through that stuff, but I would think you'd probably get some traits from,
Probably.
you know. Um, so like Tilikum, Keto had endured years of captivity, isolation, and trauma. And he also had some aggressive tendencies, but they also kept a lot of the logs hidden. So, like, a whale could have an activity log as far as like acts of aggression, but they never really circulated those. So, like, if you were going to
Oh.
go work with a whale, you would have never, he could have 75 different acts of aggression, but you're still going to get SeaWorld saying it's okay to still work with him.
So they don't actually see all those acts of it. It's not like documented.
It is documented, but the trainers don't get to see it.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I saw that, I'd be like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm not going to work with that one.
So despite the warning signs of Keto's aggression, Laurel Parque pushed forward with the dangerous close contact say that again. Despite the warning signs that Keto displayed, Laurel Parque pushed forward with these dangerous close contact performances between trainers and whales. And close contact means the trainer is actually in the water performing with the whale.
Oh my God.
So on Christmas Eve 2009, Alexis is rehearsing for a holiday show with Keto. It wasn't a public performance, so there's no audience, but it's Alexis and his other trainers who are preparing for like the Christmas Day show. During the session, something starts getting weird, and they say it started like Keto's kind of acting out and like not really doing what he's supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
But they say like it was just like the trainers were sitting in the middle of the pool, kind of like floating at the top, figuring out like what to do. Do we continue practicing? Like,
yeah,
it's going to be the Christmas show. Like,
yeah,
you know, they want to get it right. But so during this time, Alexis is the trainer in the pool. So he's sitting in the middle of the pool talking to the other trainers, and Keto circles around him and blocks the exit.
Whoa.
Yeah. And they were like, this is weird. Like, he purposely like put himself between the way that where Alexis was and the only way he could get out.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Just knowing how smart they are too. That it's scary.
Keto then suddenly became highly aggressive, and he slams Alexis with his nose, uses his nose to push Alexis to the bottom of the pool and slams him directly at the bottom of the pool.
Dang.
This is a 12,000-pound animal. So Alexis is sitting at the bottom of the pool, like motionless. Keto keeps going up and then back down and slamming him.
Oh my God.
Over and over again.
And at probably from the very first time he did that to him, Alexis is probably already unconscious.
Yeah.
Which is like kind of a good thing, because that's horrifying.
Yeah. No, it's horrifying.
And probably super painful.
Yeah. So then his body kind of like floats back up, and the whale pulls him back underwater again and holds him there. Keto did not want to give Alexis back. But by the time his colleagues managed to finally retrieve his body, Alexis is gone. The autopsy revealed that this was a extremely very aggressive attack. He suffered massive internal injuries. His chest had been crushed in. His ribs were not just fractured, but like demolished. All of his internal organs and vital organs are smushed. His official cause of death,
drowning.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yeah. Which I should not talk about that. Never mind. Cut that out. Okay. I was going to talk about his wife, but I don't know the details enough, so I'm not going to.
Okay.
SeaWorld is quick to distance themselves from the tragedy, even though Keto was one of their whales. And there was a senior SeaWorld trainer at the park who was helping the trainers with the show. So SeaWorld.
So they would have known, right?
What do you mean?
Is that what you're saying? Like, so they.
Oh no, they knew. Like, and like the trainer community is like pretty tight knit. So like the word gets around. You know what I mean? And even though this was, on the other side of the country or the other side of the world,
Yeah. It's in Spain, right?
Yeah. Like, that trainer worked at SeaWorld. And again, it's like what I was saying about like the whale is from SeaWorld. They feel safer. The trainer's from SeaWorld. So they think that like they're, you know what I mean? They're getting
Yeah.
like the best of the best
Yeah.
helping them.
Mm-hmm.
And no.
Not the case.
So SeaWorld says they have like, even though their trainer was there, their whale was there, they refer to Alexis's death as a trainer error, which
What?
yeah. Again, another theme that is going to come up. That the attack was unpredictable, but it's not a one-off incident. Again, Keto had a history, but yet another example of like these animals are ticking time bombs in captivity. They are going to lash out.
Yeah.
So Alexis's death also happened just 2 months before Don Brancho, who arguably is one of the most, I don't want to say famous, but well-known cases of trainer attacks, because if you've seen Blackfish, that's what it focuses on, you know? But before I dive into Dawn, I do want to, I want to highlight 3 other incidents that, while they didn't end in death, came terrifyingly close. These trainers were unbelievably lucky to survive. And they're not the only ones. Like I said, there are 100 reports and logs about whales lashing out. But every single one is basically saying it was a trainer error. Yeah.
That would piss me off.
Yep.
Especially, wait, so those ones, they survived, but they just got close.
Yeah, I'm going to
go.
go
If I saw trainer error, I'd be like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I'm going to go into 3 stories, and then I'll go into the incident with Dawn.
Okay.
So the first story is about John Sillick. He is a SeaWorld trainer who suffered devastating injuries during a live show at SeaWorld. He was performing a routine stunt where he rode on the back of one of the orcas, so he's like riding it kind of like a horse. And as part of the show, another orca is supposed to jump over both John and the whale that he's riding. But the whale doesn't clear them and lands directly on top of John.
Oh my God.
Crushing him. And like, you can watch, not that you should, because like there is video of this. Because again, it's during a live show.
Yeah.
John survives, but his pelvis was shattered. They also said, and there's many other injuries, severe injuries to his back, ribs, internal organs, and it folded him in half. And someone said, or I read somewhere, that what might have actually kept him together was his wetsuit.
Really?
Otherwise, he could have like snapped completely.
Oh my God. Ugh.
So he's undergone multiple surgeries and extensive rehabilitation, but I think he's in a wheelchair for the rest of his life.
I was just wondering that, because it shattered pelvis, and I'm sure there's his spine.
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
I can't even imagine. I mean, thank God he survived, but
yeah.
Okay. The second one is the story of Tamari Reed, who was not attacked she was attacked by 2 orcas, they do these like bonding sessions. So it's like one-on-one with the whale to like they'll do like little waves and like things like that. So she's sitting on the edge of the pool and kind of like putting her foot on the whale and stuff. And there's also video of this. And that whale rips her from sitting on the side of the pool, and she's trying to hold on to, she's like sitting by a gate, and the whale comes up and it just grabs her foot and it goes like, and she tries to hold on to the gate, but it's a 12,000-pound whale, and she's a little, like, she looks small in the video.
Yeah.
I mean, not that anybody probably could have.
What year was that one in?
This one?
Because I feel like I've seen that.
Sorry, I don't think I wrote the
That's okay. I
year.
feel like that one, I feel like I might have seen that one though.
Yeah. I mean, there is, like I said, there's a video of it because, I mean, it's in a pretty public area, like
Yeah.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, but a guest caught the video, so somebody was watching. But so the one whale rips Tamari off of the area that she's sitting, and then almost immediately another whale kind of joined in, and they soon began dragging her around the pool, kind of like playing with her, like
Mm-hmm.
kind of how these other stories.
Yeah.
Um, it's not funny. Sorry, that was a nervous laugh, not an actual laugh. Um, she's thrashed around the pool like a rag doll.
Mm-hmm.
They keep telling her or pulling her underwater, and one of the trainers describes this, and he said that I've never heard screams like this before, but every time she's surfacing, she's screaming, "Help me!"
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, oh, when people say they have, like,
I would, that would be like traumatizing to see and to hear.
yeah. During the attack, one of the whales chomps down on Tamari's arm, and they basically think that she's going to lose the arm.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the other trainers acts really quickly, and they actually release another, which this was like, to me, this seemed counterintuitive, but they had a reason why they did this.
Mm-hmm.
He releases another orca into the tank, and that orca is more dominant than the ones that are attacking Tamari, so they immediately let her go because it's like,
Oh,
and
okay.
I don't know how you would have even known that, but they did it and it
Yeah.
worked. And Tamari ends up escaping. She climbs out of the pool, and when you see, like, I'm not going to show you a picture. Her
Yeah.
arm looks like a noodle.
Oh,
It's so disturbing.
oh my God.
Yeah. Okay, this is the last story, and then I'm gonna go into Dawn. Um, this is the story of Ken Peters. You might know this one too.
Mm-hmm.
He's also attacked during a performance. So live performance, there are people in the audience. He jumps into the water to do what they call a rocket jump, which is like, you've probably seen it, where they're standing on the nose, like they go underwater, the whale comes up and like
They're
lifts.
standing.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I hit the mic.
Oh.
Uh,
But yeah, I know what you're saying. They're like
yeah,
standing at the nose.
yeah,
Right?
and it's like a vertical, like the trainers standing vertically on the whale, and then they like come back down into the water. So it
Mm-hmm.
looks like a rocket ship going up.
Mm-hmm.
But um, so when so he jumps in the water, and the trainers are waiting for him to come back up to perform the trick. But when he does come up, the whale has Ken's foot in its mouth. Yeah. It starts dragging him all the way down to the bottom of the pool and holding him there for almost a minute at a time
Mm.
before surfacing. At the surface, like Ken remains really calm and actually starts like petting the whale, trying to calm it down. But just like the whale just kept pulling him down to the bottom of
Mm-hmm.
the pool. And this is a deep pool. I mean, it's not deep for the orcas, but it's deep for
Yeah.
This repeated multiple times, but after several minutes, the whale finally releases his foot. He starts swimming toward the exit, and they had placed, and I talked about this earlier, they placed a net in the water to try and separate Ken from the whale.
Mm-hmm.
The whale just jumps right over
Oh my
the net. I
God.
know. And it starts swimming after Ken.
That is so scary.
Yeah, but he swam for his freaking life. And so he escapes again with his life. He is actually kind of, surprisingly, in what could have been a lot worse, he had kind of minor injuries. He like his
Maybe
foot
his
was broke.
foot.
Yeah, his
Yeah.
foot was broken, and he had like bite marks on it.
Mm-hmm.
But it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to downplay that, because I'm sure it's also a lot of like mental,
Compared to
really.
the other ones, yeah.
Seaworld takes credit for Ken's survival, saying that their training.
No, they did not.
They sure did. Saying that their training is why he survived.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, no, he is why he survived.
He
got himself out of it.
Yeah. Like, to remain calm during that and to think to like try and calm the whale down was I don't think anybody would have been able to do
Yeah,
that.
also the net didn't do shit. So
Didn't
they
do,
really didn't do anything to
yeah.
help.
Okay. So now we're going into what is the fourth and final death. And again, I'm just gonna say, like, it is graphic. So
Mhm.
again, just putting that out there. This is also probably one of the most famous attacks on a trainer. Mrs. Dawn Brownchow. Dawn Branchow was one of SeaWorld's most experienced and beloved trainers. She had been with the park for over 15 years and had a deep passion for the animals she worked with. And like I said, all these trainers, I think, just loved the animals, you know?
Mhm.
Like, you don't get into that without having a love for them. But Dawn was known for her warmth, her dedication, and her ability to connect with both the orcas and the guests who came to see them. She was like, SeaWorld basically said she was like the shining example of what they wanted their trainers to be. And they used her in a lot of their marketing materials. And so like there were billboards with Dawn's face on it. And like the brochures at SeaWorld were her. There are commercials with her in them. Like
She's like the face.
she's one of the faces, but she's very like, they really like her.
Mhm.
So on February 24th, 2010, Dawn's life was ended by the thing she loved the most, Tilikum.
Back to Tilikum.
Yeah. Yeah, like those, like Tilikum was her whale.
Mhm.
Like, and so in those like billboards and stuff, like, and Tilikum was the orca that they used because he's the biggest. He's Shamu, essentially. And
So was Tilikum with her for 15 years?
um yeah, I think she probably worked with multiple whales, but like Tilikum, like they just say that like that was her whale, you
Mhm.
know? Um and again, she's not supposed to be in the water, but she would train him and work with
Mhm.
him. So Dawn is performing at the Dine with Shamu show. It's like smaller and it's more intimate, so it's kind of like a VIP experience
Mhm.
where guests can actually eat while watching trainers like do a mini show. And Tilikum is the whale that is working with Dawn during the Stein with Shamu show. Just again reiterating just how large this whale is. He is 12,000 pounds and over 22 feet long. He is
Dang.
massive. Um, the show goes as planned. And afterward, Dawn stayed behind to interact with Tilikum in what was supposed to be a bonding session. So remember, Tamari did a bonding session too. It's like their one-on-one session,
Mhm.
just with the trainer.
Yeah.
And there is video of this. You know, there are guests there watching and filming. And there's also trainers who have like analyzed the video of this, kind of saying how they can slowly start seeing Tilikum get agitated. And also remember, this is an aggressive whale. So
Mhm.
they've analyzed this. The video shows Don doing tricks with Tilikum, and he performs a lap around the pool with like this like wave sideways. So he's like sideways, just like with one fin out of the water.
Mhm.
And he goes all the way around the pool, but they have a cue for him to stop and he misses the cue, so he does it twice.
Mhm.
And if they miss a cue, if the whale misses a cue, they aren't rewarded. Um, the whales can also hear when the fish buckets that the trainers have are starting to get low on fish.
Mhm.
And Dawn was starting to get to the bottom of her fish bucket, so now Telecom has done his trick, and now he's hearing like the treats are running out. So he's like, even if he does get a treat, he's getting bottom of the barrel stuff, like not even the good
Oh,
fish.
like he wants top of the line.
Yeah. So now Dawn goes over to like that flat part of the pool where the trainers stand and like that kind of thing, and she lays down to like give him some love kind of thing. But suddenly Tilikum grabs Dawn by her left arm and pulls her into the water. And this happens really fast.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's without hesitation. He went over there to grab her.
Mm-hmm.
But you also, it depends on who you ask, because SeaWorld maintains that Dawn was grabbed by her ponytail, and they even blame her for having a ponytail.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Because she shouldn't have, even though they have photos of all these trainers with ponytails, and that's how she normally wore her hair.
I mean, if ponytail or not, it's like they're gonna grab a limb or something.
Yeah.
They're gonna grab something.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Like, I think they're just trying to find any excuse to, like,
That's
get themselves
crazy
out
to
of
me.
the, yeah. Okay, so witnesses describe this attack as traumatizing and unbelievably violent. Tilikum dragged Dawn underwater, and in the tank that he's in, under the water, there's a viewing area.
Mm-hmm.
So,
For
like,
the crowd.
Yeah, there's
Oh my
about 30
God.
people down there. So, like, you've seen them where it's like people will take pictures. It's like this glass thing, and like the whale will come up behind you, and like you can take like a picture kind
I
of
don't
thing.
remember.
You probably see them in like old SeaWorld. But like it's basically like an underwater viewing area.
Okay.
And but when Tilly goes down there, he has Dawn in his mouth. Can you even imagine? Like,
No. Ugh.
so guests saw this all happen. And there is video. And like, again, do not go search these things out. I don't think these things should be viewed for like,
I don't think so
but
either.
but I read somewhere that it will never be released. Like, just like out of respect for her, out of respect for the family.
I feel like that would be kind of disrespectful, because
Yeah.
it's like she was really attacked in
Yeah.
front of all these people.
And there were like a few other things that I saw that were just like, this will never be released kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
I forget what they were, but I just thought that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that they had to watch it in the later court case against SeaWorld. So like,
Yeah.
that had to be haunting for the jury as well.
Right? I could not do that.
Yeah. So guests are screaming, seeing all this all happen. Tilikum slams. Sorry, I keep going back between Tilly and Tilikum.
Mm-hmm.
They call him both. Like, Tilly's a nickname. Sorry.
That's the first time I heard you call him Tilly.
Yeah, sorry. I think I started writing it in because I was like, it's shorter.
Too long
yeah.
to write.
So Tilikum slams her head at the bottom of the pool. He drags her body around and then holds her at the bottom of the pool. She briefly breaks free and surfaces at the top, and witnesses say that she was screaming and swimming for her life to get to the exit. Tilikum chases her, grabs her, and he's rolling her around in the water in what some have called a death roll.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard this, like, that's how like alligators and crocodiles hunt. Like, they spin things around because it's meant to like disorient the prey.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. And like sometimes knock them out.
Oh.
Over 24 employees are trying to save Dawn. They release a net in hopes of in the hopes that if she gets away again, they can stop Tilly from chasing her. They're slapping the water, trying to distract him, and they're frantically trying anything to stop this attack, because it is an attack.
Mm-hmm.
That is not like any other thing they've seen as far as like the aggression that they have witnessed with the whales. Like, he is. Sorry, I can't read that line. I'll cry. Tilikum circled the pool multiple times with Dawn in his mouth. He dragged her to the bottom of the pool and then released her, and she floats to the surface, completely immobile. He then circled around and rammed her body at full speed, and this has been going on for over 30 minutes.
Oh my God.
With Don still in his mouth, the staff finally lured Tillicum to a small pool, and it's like shallower too. It's meant for them to do medical procedures on the whales. And so Tillicum he gets in the pool and he starts shaking Dawn like a dog with its toy.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Again, this is why I tried to warn.
Yeah.
Tillicum is confused and angry, and it takes them another 10 minutes after covering him with a net to hold him down to get Dawn's body away from him. But he keeps her arm. He has also scalped Dawn, ripping her hair out by the ponytail.
Oh my God.
And they find that floating in the other pool.
Yeah.
What he did to this woman is
insane.
Yeah. They tried to save her, but Dawn was gone.
Yeah.
There's also a really famous picture of her body laying covered next to the pool that Tillicum is in. Like,
wait.
Feet.
What?
So her body's like, they get her out, they cover the body to have like it removed with ambulance, but it's like under like a tent type thing almost, and then her body's covered, but it's feet from the that small pool that Tillicum is still in. Yeah. Something about animal attacks is this like weird thing happens with the animal. Where after the animal is really confused as to like what it did. Like it, and they say this about a lot of these animal attacks is like the animal looks like bewildered and confused.
Like specifically the captivity animals?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
It's almost like since they're in that mental space, it's like snapping.
Yeah.
And
like,
because that happens to people too.
Yeah. Yeah. No, totally. Because Tillicum begins to cry.
Oh.
And he cries for hours. Like, he's basically almost remorseful for killing the trainer that he loved so much. And that loved him.
That's so sad.
I mean, what he did to her, again, like, this is a really complicated story to do because
it would be different if it were like a human that did it to another human. I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
But like it's an animal, and I mean, it's different. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's how I feel personally.
Yeah. I would totally acknowledging like this is a really difficult story to cover.
Yeah.
Because obviously I love orcas, but I can't see them in captivity. And I know it's bad for them.
Yeah.
But the death of Dawn was absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
So this is obviously heartbreaking. Do you want to guess what they say Dawn's official cause of death is?
Drowning?
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So not only does Seaworld not take care of its trainers, they respond to this aftermath because like it's a huge news story. And so instead of taking responsibility for the conditions that led to this attack, Seaworld tried to shift the blame onto Dawn herself. They suggested, as I said, that she had violated safety protocols by wearing her hair in a ponytail, claiming it had dangled into the water and triggered Tillicum to grab her. So they are blaming her for this.
That's so messed up.
I just find that like just unbelievable. That's just cruel. Like,
yeah.
Their attempts to deflect blame didn't end there. In court, they argued. So they do get sent to. They do go to court over this. In court, they argued that trainers were aware of the risks of working with orcas and that the attack was an unpredictable accident. But experts and former trainers pushed back, pointing out that Tillicum's history of aggression and the unusual conditions of captivity made such incidents inevitable. Tillicum wasn't a killer whale in the wild. He had been made into one by decades of confinement and abuse.
Mm-hmm.
OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, launched an investigation into Don's death and found that SeaWorld had violated worker safety laws. They determined that SeaWorld had failed to protect its trainers from known hazards, including Telecom's aggressive history. As a result, OSHA imposed strict regulations on trainer interactions with orcas, effectively banning close contact during performances. Now, they banned this. However, I remember when this all went down, and then they would just like have news people go to SeaWorld, and like the trainers were still getting in the water.
That's crazy.
So in years that followed, the release of the documentary Blackfish, which you brought up, is highly focused on Don's story and Telecom's story, and it blows up. Like, it won an Oscar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was the one I was thinking of. No, never mind. Because the one I was thinking of, she did survive, so I think it was the one. Because I feel like someone got that one on camera too.
Yeah,
where he
that's in
grabbed her
Black.
foot.
Yeah, all of these are covered in.
Oh, they are?
Yeah,
Oh,
these are
okay.
like the most like
well known.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the film, so they're covered in a lot of documentaries, but I think Blackfish is probably the most famous.
And I didn't
one.
watch Blackfish. I just saw a clip. Just saying.
The film exposed obviously the dark side of orca captivity and all of the problems that and build up that led to the tragedy, like Don's death. Public outrage grew, and SeaWorld faced intense scrutiny. Yay.
Good.
Beat them up. Their park attendance plummeted, and in 2016, they announced the end of their orca breeding program. Now, this does not mean that they are getting rid of the orcas. They still have orca shows, but basically what they're saying, like, and they can't go catch orcas anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But basically what they're saying is like, this is their last batch of orcas. They're not gonna have any. So once these orcas are gone, there's no more orcas at SeaWorld.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably also wondering what happened to Telecom. He spent the next 6 years in almost total isolation. He was only used for the closing finale during the orca shows. So like they'd have him come out, do a big splash, and he went right back into his tank. He's not allowed around any other whales or people.
That's so sad.
On January 6, 2017, Telecom died of bacterial pneumonia while in captivity at SeaWorld.
Oh.
Yeah. Dawn Branchow's death, and all of these deaths, I know just hers is the biggest one, so please don't think I'm downplaying that. But her death in particular marked a really big turning point in how the world viewed orca captivity. It forced people to confront uncomfortable truths about the marine park industry and the ultimate price for keeping such intelligent social animals in confinement.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sorry. I was really trying not to cry.
It's okay.
Dawn loved the animals she worked with, and by all accounts, all the trainers do. They want the best for them. But no amount of training or affection can undo the harm captivity inflicts on orcas or the dangers it creates for the humans that do really love them. Sorry, I'm gonna.
So sad.
I'll end with a quote. I'll end with a quote from Dawn. She says, "I've been blessed to be able to work with these animals, and I want to make a difference in their lives." She did. But I don't think she wanted it to cost her life.
Yeah.
So those are the deaths at SeaWorld.
Mm.
Sorry. I was really trying to keep it together.
You don't have to keep it together. It's so sad because it's just like they didn't choose to be that way. They were kind of like, it's not their fault
Yeah.
that they snapped like that. And like, I mean, like you were saying, he was crying after. That's so sad.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't care if they don't have orcas anymore. I just think the whole thing should be shut down. I think it's gross.
Yeah.
And I think like, okay, no orcas. There's still dolphins. There's still all these other
Yeah.
animals that are in captivity and probably
Yeah.
hate it there. And yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah. I mean, there's just like countless studies, not just about orcas. I know I focused specifically on orcas for the purpose of this episode, but like there's so many studies about just like what it does to the psyche of the animals. And like you'll see tigers who just all they do all day is they just pace in their cage. And like it's just horrible.
Oh, tigers like at the zoo.
Yeah.
The zoo too. It's just I
Yeah.
don't know. It's like we don't need zoos. Just watch them on TV.
Yeah.
Like watch documentaries or something.
Yeah, I know there's like the
Crazy.
sensationalism of seeing these animals like close up, but we're not meant to.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that was a long one. Hope I did them justice.
I think you did. It was a long one, but I do feel like it went by fast because I was like, what's happening next? But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I don't even go, and sorry, this has nothing to do with captivity, just like the ocean and the animals out there in general. Like, I don't go into the ocean, don't like going on boats.
Yeah.
Like, I respect those animals, but I'm not going out there.
Yeah.
I did, when we went to the Philippines, I felt like I snorkeled a little bit, but like under 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And before I got on the boat, or before I got off the boat, I was like, are there sharks in these waters? Which, obviously. But he was like, nope.
Yeah. Liar.
Yeah. But, yeah.
Well, we had 2 long stories today.
Yeah, so thank you for listening. And again, please rate us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever you're listening on. And if you have scary stories, send them to igsttystories@gmail.com.
Yeah. igstty stories@gmail.
Thank you.
Yeah. I could tell you were trying to think of it.
Yeah, I was like, Okay, well, thank you guys for watching. I mean, listening, watching.
Later.